May 20. That was the day I went to ECA to attend the conference about accessing climate finance for development in Africa. During the break, I've managed to sit one-on-one with Youba Sokona to have a discussion on the issue of climate finance. But since climate finance is a delicate issue, there were some core questions which I believe were worth asking. These include: who will finance for Africa's climate adaptation and mitigation? Are African institutions credible enough to shoulder the finance? How can we intertwine the money for climate issue with development? I forwarded all these questions to Mr. Sokona, and he has forwarded his opinion on the matters. Mr. Sokona is the coordinator of the African Climate Policy Center at the UN ECA. Hoping that you'd enjoy this insightful and entertaining interview, I'm your host and producer, Samson Tasfai. Okay, Mr. Youba Sokona, welcome to Behind the Afro Mic.
Thank you, and I'm pleased and honored to be with you at Afro FM.
Okay, good. So first, before beginning our discussion, for those people, for those listeners who may not know you, who is Mr. Youba Sokona? Just tell them a little bit about you.
I am the coordinator of the Africa Climate Policy Center, which is located at the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. It's a newly created center at the initiative of the African Union Commission, the African Development Bank, and the Economic Commission of the UN for Africa, and to inform the policy, making the policy decision and policy advice on climate and development issues in Africa.
Good. As I am talking to you, on May the 20th, there is a conference going on by the title Accessing Climate Finance for Development in Africa. But before going that, let me ask you one basic question. Why do we need to finance climate? There are even some who doubt whether this climate thing is being blown out of proportion. So what do you say to them first?
I think let me correct that. I don't think there is no doubt on climate change. Climate is changing because of the scientific evidence. The science is now clear on that. There is evidence of the climate change issue, and then, but in the context of Africa, there is no need for science for citizens to notice that things have changed. Okay. Ask to any Ethiopian who has 30 years old, he might be able to tell you that the weather have changed. The way they were living in 30 years from now has completely changed. And then this is very important, and then the science is clear on that.
Okay, so good, because Africa always claims to be especially hit hardest by climate change. Do you have quantifiable measurements whereby it tells that Africa has been injured because of carbon emission in this manner, in that manner? Do you have quantifiable measurements maybe?
We do have a number of indications, and one of the biggest problem in a continent, and that is one of the reasons that why this African Climate Policy Center has been created as part of the climate for development in Africa, is that we are lacking basic information on climate information, on measurement of impacts. But we have seen it. If you take the ice on the Kilimanjaro is melting, and if you look at the Lake Chad is shrinking, if you look at like Fagi bean, it's shrinking, and we do have evidence of different indication here and there that climate is making an impact in different ecosystem in the continent.
Okay, so now the thing that we're seeing is like there is the Copenhagen Accord. There are also things made. The Cancun Agreement is also one step in that direction, etc., etc. There are many financial instruments. So do you think they are being used to the correct thing for mitigation and everything that helps the environment to recuperate to its normal position, maybe?
Let me take you back to the Climate Convention itself. It's clearly said in the convention that in order for developing country to move and to tackle climate issues, they will be provided with financial resources, with technology transfer, and this has been agreed by all the different nations. And this is one indication. And an instrument has been elaborated called the Global Environmental Facility, and to help developing countries articulate their need for climate change issues. And it became clearly that these resources is very minor. It cannot be dealt with. And with the evolution and better understanding of the climate issues, it became clear we need an adequate resources. One for mitigation. Different instrument has been elaborated, such as emission trading, the clean development mechanism, market-based mechanism. But it's during the past 5 years that adaptation became prominent because of the impact of the climate change. And then there is a need of important resources to tackle adaptation. And that is why before the Copenhagen Accord, there is a number of pledges. And then with the Cancun, there is a pledges. A lot of amount of money has been announced, but so far very limited has been put on the table. This is not an unusual case of the climate. In other sectors also we have seen it.
I think when you were talking and when you were explaining, I found two parts, but let me start with the first one. You seem that climate change can be tackled, one through mitigation, the other one through adaptation. So what are those two methods, what are those two strategies being involved?
No, climate change can be tackled only through mitigation. There is only one solution of climate is mitigation. Because of we are not mitigating, because we are delaying actions, adaptation is becoming inevitable. If we have been able, because of the inertia also of the system, because of the delay of action and mitigation, that is why we have to adapt, because of the inertia of the system. One solution is mitigation. By default, we have to adapt because we are not mitigating. And then that became inevitable by the increase of. And that is why the more we wait for mitigate, the more resources we will need for adaptation. And the more the more it will be difficult to adapt because of the cost required. And that is why there is a matter of urgency.